And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and we are excited to have another conversation here with you on this Wednesday edition of Primetime. A lot to talk about. And in what is a slow time, typically, Chad, for sports, the whole world shuts down because football's over. Super Bowl ends, college football national championship ends, and nobody knows what to talk about. But there's so much cool stuff going on. The Olympics, obviously, it was Olympic year for the winter, so we got to see all the Winter Olympic stuff, and now we're getting to see the Browns getting back into swing. Football has not gone too long. And then while that's in the background right now, just a little bit, even though we're going to lead with it, funny enough. But you have the Cavaliers and you have the NBA, and Detroit and OKC just took on each other tonight. First in the East versus first in the West, a battle there. So we'll talk about a little bit of NBA action and all that, but just when everybody says there's not much going on, there seems to be enough to talk about. We're going to have an hour worth of conversation. And how are you doing today, my friend?
Not too bad, man. Listen, we can always find something to talk about, right? This is the time of year where we go from talking about how good guys really are at football to how good they might be and how good we hope they're going to be at football.
Yeah.
It's combine time. Interviews are going on. Everything's kind of – I mean, you feel like it's winding down because the Super Bowl literally just ended a couple weeks ago, but it's starting to wind back up. I think the NFL does probably a better job. I know hockey doesn't go away for long, but the NFL, I think, does a better job than any professional sport at staying in the news cycle, right? There's all these dates that you hit. It's the combine, it's OTAs, it's the opening week of the season. It's for same time for everybody. The Super Bowl. There's just all these media dates and fan dates, and they do a good job of just constantly staying relevant and talked about, despite the fact that they're not around right now. Right? There's no football, but we're still talking NFL. So I think they do a really good job of that.
Yeah, a very wild ramp up, a long ramp up to the NFL draft itself, and then when you get to the draft, and by the time you get the buzz over the draft, you're almost into the swing of the end of summer, and it's fall, and then football is back. So yeah, just crazy. And yesterday we reflected on Andrew Berry and the Browns general manager talking about a plethora of things. Talked about Shedeur Sanders and what he can do to grow. As a starter of this team, as a quarterback in this room for the Browns in 2026. I just talked about the draft strategy and things like that. Chad, I'm curious, what were some of your biggest takeaways? We have about 24 hours now to think on what Andrew Berry said. What are your takeaways, I guess, from what Andrew Berry said? Was it much a set of nothing, or I mean, were there some things to take away there?
I mean, I think there's always, I don't want to say coded speak, like he's trying to tell us something that we have to decipher, drink more Ovaltine or whatever. But no, I don't think it's that. I just think it's, Ovaltine, if you're listening, by the way. Sure, Ovaltine watches the show every night. Just the whole company, yeah. They sit down and have a Inside Edge Primetime night from 10 to 11. Anyway, this is what you should be doing at home. I don't know. I think sometimes you listen to any GM, it's going to be the same, right? You're not going to get a ton of information. He's not going. Well, I mean, he dropped some names yesterday, of maybe some guys, but again, not a super huge secret or anything. It's the top 3 offensive linemen that I think the kind of consensus top 3 offensive linemen that most people think are the top 3 in the draft anyway. So yeah, I don't think there's a huge secret that the Browns would want all 3 of those guys. I don't think that's giving away trade secrets or anything like that, but. I don't know. It's almost like I can't decide if he is backing off of last year's draft mistakes and saying, hey, look, the talent pool was weird. Or if he's trying to soften us up going into this draft. Like, hey, look, the talent pool is weird. Because every time, even when I do the mock draft, and I told you I was going to get that graphic for you tonight. We'll look at it tomorrow. I don't think anybody cares about my mock draft, honestly. I'll just send it to you. But you look at this draft, every time when I even do a mock draft, Eli, I get caught at 6. And I'm like, okay, the big value guys are gone, right? There's no harm. And every time the Cowboys offer that trade in a mock draft, and it's funny, it's 12 and 20 for 6, And I'm like, if you're the Browns, you have to take it. If you're trying to build a team, right, and you need more high-impact guys, are you better off taking 6 and 24 or 12, 20 and 24? I think you're better off as long as you don't miss in a weird talent pool. We've talked about how some positions aren't what they normally are in this draft. There's not a ton of quarterbacks. There's not a ton of surefire first round, there's a couple wide receivers, and then everybody else kind of fills in. There are a couple tackles, but most offensive linemen coming out, most guys are guards and centers. You don't really typically see guards and centers go in the first or second round. So it's a confusing draft. And I think you're better off with 12, 20, and 24. If you can stockpile 3 pretty good players there, you can get a wide receiver at 12. You can get 2 pretty good offensive linemen at 20 and 24. There's no top of the draft offensive lineman that everybody agrees is the next 10, 12-year Pro Bowler, first ballot Hall of Famer. That guy's not out there. There's some pretty good offensive linemen. And the class is actually decently deep. We talked about it with Ryan Moster's big board on the Sunday show, and he's highlighted plenty of depth as far as his system sees a lot of the offensive linemen, especially the interior offensive linemen. So I think you can wait until the second or third round to get some of those guys. I don't think you have to trust Andrew Berry to make the right decisions in the draft. Again, I want to keep harping on the Dylan Gabriel pick because it was weird. Dylan Gabriel in the third round last year was puzzling, right? But if somebody within the organization, if it was Kevin Stefanski, I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anyone. He's gone. He's in Atlanta. I'm not, whatever. So what kind of sour grapes would it be to still blame the guy? If that was, if he identified Gabriel as his guy, and Berry went out and got him, okay, it's hard to fault Andrew Berry for that, right? I mean, if that's what the head coach is telling you he can work with, and he sees something, I mean, at some point you got to trust your guys, right? You got to let your football guys do football things. So you go get them football players. That obviously didn't work out. So you just have to trust this organization to be able to work together. And maybe Todd Monken maybe there's more open communication between Berry and Haslam and Todd Monken.
We lost Chad here for a moment.
They want, and who is at the top of this draft board for them at each position or whatever,
Yeah. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that draft. Based off, if there is a receiver run, we talked yesterday if Tate and Tyson are off the board pretty quickly in the top 10, is Mekhi Lemon the number one receiver then on the board? What happens if he's taken? But yeah, I think it's interesting enough to acquire as much draft picks as possible and try to capitalize. I think another name, we heard Andrew Berry mention Tyler Linderbaum. Could he get re-signed by the Ravens? Could the Browns make a move towards him, add him as their starting center? Some familiarity there for Todd Monken.
I can't think. Why am I blanking? I can't. I'm sorry. The Packers left tackle. That's what you just said, Tyler Linderbaum. It reminded me. There's another free agent that I thought the Browns could decently make a run at.
And I think that's what it's gonna what's gonna determine how they attack the draft. Are they gonna have to go lineman heavy with the second first round pick if they trade back 2 of the first round picks out of 3 of them at that point? What exactly are they going to be aggressive with position wise in free agency as opposed to the draft? And I think they're looking for more skill position players. I think receivers, maybe another tight end. On the other side of the ball defensively, Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese. I think they're looking for somebody like that and can maybe add through the free agency for linemen. Linderbaum, maybe picking him up through a free agency or a trade or whatever have you. But I think that's more of the route for the Browns there.
Yeah, maybe Rasheed Walker's that's who I was thinking.
Okay.
Walker's, okay. But I just couldn't get Rasheed Wallace out of my head. And I'm like, this isn't right. That's not the right
not Rasheed Wallace.
No, he's probably not going to be a good left tackle. I don't think he's leverage issues.
Not now, at least. Not now.
Yeah, maybe in the day he would have been. I don't know. I mean, you get him on the right diet, and who knows? Strength and conditioning. Who knows? We'll see.
Who knows?
A lot of heart.
Hey, but I did hear Todd Monken did speak today, though. I heard he spoke at the NFL Combine today to the media. He has some things to say there, Chad?
He did. We can bring these up. Basically, the 2 clips that I have in here is him talking about the quarterbacks. I think a lot of people's question, especially for Todd Monken, you hire an offensive guy, you get offensive questions, right? Not going to ask him a ton about Myles Garrett. I mean, we'll save that for Mike Rutenberg, right? We'll ask him what he's going to do with Myles Garrett. But, Todd Monken was asked about I think, what the quarterback battle, if there's going to be a quarterback battle, if anybody is, going in as the clear number 1 starter in the camera, how are they going to do this? Really? You didn't give a ton away, but I'll kind of play these. We'll bring this first one up, and you can kind of, I don't think I have to preface it. It's pretty obvious who he's talking about. We'll react to it afterwards. Just give us a second to bring it up here.
I think what you see is elite playmaking ability. That's in him.
And this is Shedeur Sanders that he's speaking of, by the way.
You've seen it We've seen it. You saw it in college. You saw it on tape last year. Sure, there's a ways to go, but what rookie isn't? I mean, what first-year player doesn't have a long way to go? So I'm excited to get started with him and all of our quarterbacks and all of our players.
Do you feel like these videos are thanks to courtesy of Mary Kay Cabot, by the way? She was.
Okay.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm having technical troubles today, buddy. There we go.
Player that at one time has.
That popped up on me unexpectedly. This is him talking about Deshaun Watson and having a chance to possibly, move into that starting role because obviously there was some talent there at one time. So just listen to Monken's words.
Exhibited the skill set at an elite level. I think you're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt that somehow we might be able to get that out of them again. And I think that's how you should look at every player. I've said that. You guys have heard me say it. I'm going to let it play out. I think it'd be completely unfair, just like it would be in any classroom setting, be it a history exam, and all the students walk in, and before they're actually given the exam, you give them a grade. Well, how would you give them a grade? Based on male, female, race, how they look, how they're dressed? I think that's unfair. Now, you're going to have some preconceived notions, obviously, because we have prior evidence, but I don't decide who plays. The players decide who plays. I've never decided who plays.
What kind of fresh?
It's funny because when he says the players decide who plays, it put a shiver up my spine to that Baker Mayfield year where he's got the separated shoulder and like they seemingly couldn't keep him out of the lineup. I don't know. Like he was. I don't understand. That was a weird dynamic that year, but
he dressed on Sunday and said, "You know what? I'm going in, and there's nothing you can do about it." Yeah, that one's still to this day, but I don't get it. There was a lot to unpack there with Todd Monken. I think he just was trying not to shut the door on anything, just in case they do want the Browns front office want to see what they can get out of Deshaun Watson. Still, though, a lot of fans don't really care to see anything in that route anymore. I'm definitely in that agreement. I'm not trying to really see any more Deshaun Watson and Cleveland Browns action. But that's why Monken didn't shut it down, because they're going to try to see what they can get out of him through training camp, and he is healthy, so we'll see you there. But Shedeur, obviously, they mentioned the big play action that he has. He can make the big play. He can create the spark and the efficiency they mentioned in college that he had. They're trying to get back to that. It was flashes of what he showed in that 7-game stretch. And I think Todd Monken's excited. I mean, there wasn't a lot of guys, when we talked about this coaching search, people needed to be excited about this quarterback room and had to be excited about this offense. And it seems like so far Todd Monken at least is excited about the offense, Chad. And I mean, for an offense that doesn't have a lot to really boast about, I mean, Jerry Jeudy's our wide receiver 1 right now, and not a lot of fans are thrilled about that. At least Todd Monken's excited.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's fair to shut the door on Jeudy yet either. I mean, maybe another year and a little bit of a different offense, a little more dynamic play calling. Again, a year of the head coach tailoring an offense based on the roster as opposed to the other way, which is much easier, I think, than waiting for your guys to come in and hoping that works out. Maybe they find a way to get Jeudy a little more involved, and he, I mean, that can perk your attitude up, man. When you realize that, okay, not only am I the wide receiver 1, in position and on the depth chart, but they're actually going to treat me like it, and find a way to get me the ball. And I know he had some drops, but we talked about how inconsistent the throws were from different quarterbacks. I mean, you see passes from 3 quarterbacks during the year. I think people just really underestimate how difficult that is to go from one quarterback's throwing style to another quarterback, to a lefty, to a right. It had to be a little bizarre. Just timing and everything, working with a new quarterback every 5 or 6 weeks or so. That's not easy. We talk about all the time how it's such a time in football. Offense is such a timing thing, right? It's that you've got to be in step, man. 11 guys have to be doing their job at the right time, all the time, every play to make it work. You can't just go out there with no familiarity and whip the ball around and score 50 points a game. I mean, it's not going to work. We've seen even with Ohio State's offense that with all the athletes that they have, all the 5-star wide receivers and clearly the best wide receivers in the nation, when they get a little out of sync, it doesn't look good, right? You get a little pressure up the middle and the quarterback it can't quite stay in the pot, whatever. things happen, and all of a sudden you look out of sorts. And that's just what happened to the Browns. They couldn't keep the quarterback in the pocket. They couldn't keep him there. Again, I've said it before. He doesn't have time to go. Whoever it is, whether it's Flacco, Gabriel, or Sanders, DTR, you go all the way back, whatever. When you don't have time to stand in the pocket and go through your progressions, you're not going to be able to play the quarterback position very well, and you're not going to get throws out on time and accurately. So, yeah, it's understandable that after a while, receivers kind of start to mentally and maybe even physically check out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can understand that from that standpoint. The one thing to keep an eye on though is obviously the personalities. At points, Jerry Jeudy was clashing with Shedeur, and they did make up near the end of the season, but they were clashing. And one thing that stands out with Todd Monken's 2019 run here with the Browns were personalities. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr. He had a bunch of different personalities on the offense, and he didn't do a good job of really corralling them or managing them well as the offensive coordinator. So as the head coach, you hope that he's learned some things since that last go around. And, that's what we've been hoping all offseason is really just, hey, it's not the same as 2019 Todd Monken. He went to Baltimore. He won, an AFC North title. He's seen the other side of success. So hopefully that's what we get out of Todd Monken, and it's why we kind of continue to be optimistic about it. But one thing is for sure is he didn't do a good job managing the personalities. And the one thing is scoring the ball. In 2019, they did, I know Ryan Mosser was big on the day that we signed Todd Monken, talking about
they moved it all over the place,
the yards, but the points, they were not there. There was times where they would go 17-7, they'd lose these games to Denver, just like stifled randomly in the fourth quarter. And that's what I remember.
Terrible in the red zone.
That's what I remember about Todd Monken and the offense. So I hope it's changed, and we're going to kind of get to see how he morphs this offense, because that's going to be the main focus. The defense, for the most part, is pretty much put together. I mean, there's really not too much to worry about there.
Yeah, it's kind of plug and play. You have a similar style. You have Mike Rutenberg has worked under similar coaches too. What Jim Schwartz, basically just the same kind of style, same kind of whatever. Same kind of schemes, same kind of ideals. I mean, I'm sure he's going to add some things. And again, I mean, it's never, I don't think it's kind of a copycat league. We talk about that all the time too, right? Where if somebody does something that works, everybody in the league tries to pull it off. And I think it's easier to pull those things off on defense than it is on offense. And I think the Browns had the personnel to do a lot of the things that the Seahawks were able to do. Not necessarily go to the Super Bowl and win it next year, but I mean, like, just start to kind of, physically put those things in where you're stunting more twists, more stunts up front, just to kind of, not that you need Myles Garrett, to get free more. He gets free plenty, but I mean, there are things that you can do, and the Browns have been fairly good at rushing the quarterback with four guys, much like Seattle was last year, but just not quite as creative. I think I'd like to see a little bit more creativity. Maybe that's the only thing that Jim Schwartz's defense really ever lacked, was just a little that creativity. They were solid, no doubt. And I don't think a lot of people said that it was kind of a bend but don't break, and then it became a don't bend but eventually break. Well, I mean, I don't know. You spend 2/3 of a game on the field, and you see if you can keep teams from scoring in the fourth quarter, right? I think that has a lot of that's a huge factor. I think if the offense, like I said, if you just bring the offense up to an average middle of the road offense, I think you've got 8 or 9, maybe almost 10 wins right there. I don't think it's going to be an average middle of the road offense. I think it's going to be below average for a year. I think it's going to take a little time. I hope. I've heard Anthony Alford right here on the Inside Edge Network say that he feels like Todd Monken may only have one season. I hope that's not the case. I think you do need some continuity, not just continuity for the sake of continuity, but you'd like to see some progress and some forward steps for once, right? The continuity. Yeah, but Kevin Stefanski up and down, that didn't work, right?
I'll say this, Chad. I mean, I kind of agree with Double A a little bit, though, because if the Browns, they're going to do another coaching cycle, and you don't want to think about it. You want to think Todd Monken's going to work out. But you go into another coaching cycle without the Ravens, without the Steelers getting their options there, the Raiders without the first pick. Maybe there'll be a team with the first pick that'll be available again, but the Browns suddenly are becoming the number one option for a lot of coaches at that point. So I can understand where the Browns are like not dead set on it being Monken season, the Monken era. I hope it works out, obviously, but I'm with Double A where they can't really afford to have a below average offense. The only way I think that Todd Monken lasts in Cleveland if they are below 500 or 4 or 5 game win team. I think the only way he's still here is if the offense exceeded expectations. The defense had a little bit of a setback under Rudenberg, and that's what we're talking about, is trying to find how to shape the defense back to the Jim Schwartz level of things. But I think Todd Monken's got to show on offense. I think they gotta be scoring over 20 points a game. Yeah. If they're losing 27-24, every Sunday, and they win 5-6 games, I think you have a conversation about keeping Todd Monken. But I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Haslam's not been opposed to firing people before. So
and I don't disagree. I mean, I think if you have the opportunity to improve, you do it. But I don't think you fire a coach just for the sake of firing a coach. Just like you said, like I said, there shouldn't be continuity just for the sake of continuity. But you do hope to have continuity in the best possible way, which means you have a coach that comes in and starts to turn things around pretty rapidly, and you can see those steps toward progress. I mean, that's what's progress for this team? Is it 7 wins? Or are we going to be happy with 7 and 10? Again, like you said, depends on how the offense looks, right? Depends on how the defense looks.
I think if Shedeur Sanders has a great year, looks strong, they go 7 and 10. Mm-hmm. They lose some close games. The defense lapses a few times. Yeah, then I think we're having a different conversation about the Browns. But if they go out there and they look bad offensively, 10 points here, 7 points here, a 3-point outing, it's the noise is going to get loud inside Cleveland Browns Stadium. I think louder than we've heard it in years. Yeah. And it's gonna get to that point, that level of almost 0-16 level. I mean, it's not there yet, but it can get there real quick because we understand we've been to that point. So once you get to that point, now you're just stuck in middle ground where you're back to where you were right before 0-16, the 4-12, 5-11s of the world. Now what? 5-12, 4-13s of the world. Yeah. It's a lonely place to be, and it's not a fun place to be. And the Browns fans are sick of being there.
Basically, we've been there since 1999. I mean, with a couple of blips on the radar, but that's it.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Todd Monken's got a lot of work ahead of him here with this draft, this free agency, so we'll keep an eye on all that when the Browns get geared up here for the NFL draft. We'll have the coverage here on the Inside Edge Network. Make sure you give us a follow if you're enjoying all the coverage so far. Inside Edge Net on all the socials. Chad and I are here with you Monday through Thursday on Inside Edge Primetime, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we got a lot of other great shows programming throughout the network. So we'll go ahead and choose Inside Edge Network as your source of sports, entertainment, mental health, and everything in between. Thank you so much. With that being said, we're going to take a quick pause. We're going to grab some caffeine. If you're on the West Coast, grab your dinner. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cavs. James Harden has some injury news, and the Cavs just can't seem to catch a break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about, the Cavaliers. We're going to talk about James Harden. The Cavs were in action tonight, so we will talk about that and all that and more after the commercial break here on Inside Edge Primetime. Back after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and this is, again, Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network, a Wednesday edition of Primetime. And to follow us, our program director, the one and only AA Anthony Alford, on Midnight Run with Anthony Alford. He'll be talking about, I'm sure, the Cavaliers as they lost today. We'll talk about that in a moment. 118-116 to the Bucks. And I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on James Harden and so much more. Todd Monken, all that fun jazz. I'll tell you this, producing that show with AA has been something else, Chad. Unhinged at midnight. Yesterday we talked about dating at the gym.
Heard that.
Yeah. So just
it
crazy.
Made me think, I'm just so glad I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, man. Like, it gives me anxiety to even think. I'm glad I'm married. I don't have to worry about any of it. I am well established. It makes me. I can't even find words. It's the only thing that makes me nervous. We talk about sports live. I don't care who's watching. You talk about dating, and I'm like, I don't want to remember that at all. That's not.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It'll shiver up my spine. We're good. We're good now.
All right. Well, let's pivot away from the dating scene and the gym and all that. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Cavs.
Gym maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe the gym. We'll keep that in there. But Cavs lose to the Bucks tonight, 118-116. I had a bunch of injury news break before the game. We'll talk about the game real quick. 118-116 to Milwaukee. They lose in Milwaukee, dropped to 37-23. Leading the way for the Cavaliers was Jared Allen with 27 points, 11 rebounds, and assists, 2 steals, and a block. And Dennis Schroeder with 26 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Sam Merrill and Jalen Tyson with 14. Keon Ellis also with 14. Leading the way for the Bucks with 20 points was Kevin Porter Jr., former Cavalier, and then Ryan Rollins with 18 points. So obviously that's the game. A game where out of this stretch here with Detroit coming up 2 times between now and Tuesday. The next few days and Tuesday, I should say. This was one of those games you could win. This one in Brooklyn on Sunday. And, you drop this game. You have Donovan Mitchell out. You have Evan Mobley out. You have James Harden out. And Mitchell and Mobley, they're obviously more so monitoring, just keeping an eye on things, it seems like. But James Harden, the big news, fracturing his thumb.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, man, we just traded Darius Garland. The big knock on Darius Garland was he can't stay healthy. James Harden having one of his healthiest seasons as an NBA player, it seems like. And now we get this news. Now, we don't know how long it'll keep him out, but, right now it's kind of up in the air, Chad, and this kind of just seems to be a little bit of a damper into what otherwise has been a pretty fun James Harden era so far for the Cavaliers.
It was fun for, about 5 or 6 games, and then yeah. Listen, I'm not saying that the season's over, but it just makes it. You have to feel a little bit nervous, right? On one hand, that's not an injury joke. It's one hand, but yeah, you have to feel like sometimes it just feels like things get worse, right? It's like, okay, well, it's just a fractured thumb. It's not a shooting hit. We'll be fine. And then tomorrow, it's like you hear, oh, he's having surgery. He's out, 4 to 6 weeks, and then what, right? Then he's coming back for the beginning of the playoffs, trying to get in the swing of things. Doesn't have his legs under him. And then you wonder about the chemistry. You've got, Max Strus back. He hasn't played with James Harden yet. It feels like it could be a huge mess, right? So yeah, hopefully it's just a minor thing. It's just unfortunate. It's not James Harden's fault. I mean, I haven't seen anything on social media. Usually guys get blamed for getting hurt, but it's not Harden's fault. It's something that happened, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Now, I just want to make sure, for anybody tuning in, James Harden didn't fracture his thumb in the game tonight. It was before, the game. This had come out that he injured his right thumb in the game over the Knicks last night, 109-94 win over the New York Knicks. The post-game examination by the Cavaliers medical staff, followed by x-rays taken today, confirmed a non-displaced fracture of the distal phalanx.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's the finger. But yeah, he fractured his right thumb. So James Harden out. We'll keep an eye on that. And the Cavaliers obviously missing some of that scoring. Jalen Tyson stepping up a little bit today. Sam Merrill stepping up, and obviously the big effort by Dennis Schroeder. But you're not going to really see that too much every night. Now, granted, Donovan Mitchell out with I believe was a right groin strain, so he should be back, I'd imagine, by the next game or two. Evan Mobley they were just keeping an eye on him with management of the injury, him just getting back, not too long ago. But I think this James Harden one will have to keep an eye on it because, you don't have a Darius Garland to slot back in there. You traded Darius Garland for James Harden. So you gotta figure it out.
It's now like, hey, man.
Yeah, can we just real quick use Garland for a little bit? But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting this next little stretch now, especially. You got Detroit, Brooklyn, and then I believe Detroit again is the next stretch coming up here. So keep an eye on that.
What concerns me as well is Donovan Mitchell with the groin strain. It seems like this is the time of year where he starts to get the lower body injuries, right? And by the way, this Cavs-Bucks game tonight was an Adam Silver nightmare. I mean, you talk about load management. I mean, I know guys are really hurt, but man, nobody played in this game. I was just looking at the Bucks, and nobody played for Milwaukee. But like I said, it makes me a little bit nervous because this is the time of year where we hear that Donovan Mitchell has some kind of nagging lower body. And again, I'm not blaming Donovan Mitchell. These are just things that happen. I mean, we're human, right? We tend to. It happens. You push yourself to the limit every night. You break down eventually. But it's always some kind of a nagging injury. It's the calf, right? A groin strain could be pretty nagging. I mean, you talk about a guy who, here's a guy, right?
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy. Boom, here's a guy. But no, I mean, lateral quickness. And, obviously you rely on explosive first steps. And when you're trying to get to the bucket and now you've got a groin strain in the back of your mind and you think like, okay, well, I can't go too hard. If I overextend, I'm gonna be down another 5-6 games, whatever. And then it affects your game. I mean, you may not even be hurt. It may not even be a factor in the game, but it's still in the back of your mind. And it limits you, and that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, hopefully the injury bug doesn't get the Cavaliers again. Obviously, they're trying to avoid that by getting James Harden in here, getting some fresh legs, and right now it doesn't seem like that's working out in their favor. But yeah, an effective game for Jared Allen. I mean, if they're going to have, games like this, they're at least going to be in games. But obviously getting Donovan Mitchell back, you have the extra 2 points or so, I think, to win this game. So not too down about it, but I definitely hope James Harden, this can get resolved pretty quickly because March is at the end of this week. Next week is March.
You can't be too nervous when 4 of your projected starting 5 are not playing in the game. It's whatever, right? It happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want them to be healthy eventually, but one game isn't going to, we're not going to panic.
Well, as long as Chad's not panicking, I won't panic as well, and we'll keep it cool over here.
You are, dude.
Who's keeping it cool, Chad, is the Milwaukee Brewers, and you brought this to my attention. But the Milwaukee Brewers have been pretty cool. They have an interesting way they've been gaining new fans, and would you like to tell the folks at home how that has been going for the Milwaukee Brewers?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got so excited. So we talk about MLB and how they do a terrible job of marketing their players and marketing their teams and marketing their sport and marketing pretty much anything. You don't see home runs and double plays shared on social media. If you do, they get scrubbed quickly because they all want to be, packaged the way that Major League Baseball wants them to be packaged. Where I can watch an NFL game and I see, 50 different videos on Twitter of, fans who are at the game of a touchdown. I can basically get the best view on the replay just by watching. Go to Twitter, right? You go to X or whatever, and you're like, okay, well, he clearly caught the ball. He was 2 feet in. And then they're showing the replay. They finally catch a good view of it. It's kind of funny in that way. I mean, technology's obviously exploded over the last 10 to 15 years, but Major League Baseball is still behind the 8 ball a little bit. They don't do a good job of marketing their best players or their most marketable players, for lack of a better word. They just don't seem to care. Every year is about, hey, how many rules can we change? Let's shave. If we can shave 31 seconds off a game, we're going to bring a bunch of new, young viewers in. Okay, maybe the pitch clock wasn't terrible. I'll be honest with you. Still feels a little forced or whatever. Don't love the runner on second and extra innings. I get it during the regular season. I understand saving bullpens. Nobody wants to see a 25-inning game and, August when you're headed down the stretch getting ready to go to the playoffs. Like, I get that. But the Brewers have brought in a company who's been a little more focused on trying to bring in, like we said, younger viewers. So what's the way that you do that? You try to appeal to younger viewers. What do young people do? They like to play video games, right? Just fun, quirky stuff. They like to, whatever, not just video games, but I brought up video games because the first example, check out this video. I thought this was fun. This was South Frolic. I just watched the video. I don't really know how to even describe this. This is from the Brewers.
All right.
Yeah, this is great.
All right.
All right. Well.
Oh, well.
So what they did was they took the classic Wi-Fi failure, those circle of death, and they turned it into a whole social media campaign. Apparently, the video is just going to play in the background. It sounds like something else completely is going on now. It is prime time, so we're fine. Well, what would an episode of prime time be without a little technical difficulty? One more time? Nope, that's not going to work. Okay, here's the thing: the Brewers had Sal Frelick act as though he were the first. The main character in a video game. He's basically playing from like not the first person, but there's a drone behind him following him around, and he's just doing baseball stuff, man. It's like it looks like GTA. Man, I can't believe I have to do the play-by-play like we're on radio right now.
Why don't I do this? Why don't I do a little bit of delegating while you try to load it into the system here?
Let's do that.
But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw the video on for those. Chad's gonna try to load it in here. But for those just tuning in, the Brewers, mind you, 97-65 last year, were basically the front runners in the NL. We're supposed to go to the World Series if it wasn't for the Dodgers having basically every free agent on their payroll. But this is what they have to do, however. We are talking about a team that is standing out, at least standing-wise, but not standing out enough, so they must go to social media and do it this way. So Chad is gonna attempt. I think. Were you able to get it loaded in?
It's loading. Everything we try to do tonight is gonna be. We're gonna get that little Wi-Fi loading circle of super death. Apparently, we'll see, Eli. Let's all just watch it. Let's all bring it up as it looks. Just stare at it. No, I love the idea of what they're doing. Like I said, bringing video games into it. It's kind of cool. It's like it's literally like you're playing a baseball video game. He's like walking into. It's like when you. I don't know if you're familiar. If you're familiar with GTA, if you're a gamer, you got to walk up to a door, and sometimes there's a little, a lit circle on the floor. Where you got to walk up and stand there, and you go in, and that's what it did. They just changing batting gloves, like looking through. It was a really cool kind of a thing. The video is obviously not going to load. It's over here. It's dying. This whole segment is dying.
It's crazy. It played before the show. It played before the show. That's so crazy, though.
I know it played perfectly. We watched it. We laughed.
Oh, I think we got it. We got it.
Oh, hold on. Do we have it?
Yep.
We frig up, yes, frig up, we all frig up, whoa, whoa. Frig up, yes, whoa, 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 then we whoa, frig up, yes, frig up, we Well then, we frig up, yes, frig up.
That was fun, man.
That was. That was.
It took as long to get that thing to load into the system and to get to work as it did to actually play the video. So we spent twice as much time as we wanted to. But I thought it was.
I think we just drew the anticipation up more, and shout out to the Milwaukee Brewers Twitter, social media team there. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it's just baseball's got to get creative. I mean, we're sitting here talking every time, and we're gonna do it again this June, July. When the All-Star break comes up, about why is it that it takes to the All-Star break to get hyped up, and then postseason baseball, and it's because there's not enough marketing. But imagine if there was marketing around a May series between the Reds and the freaking Brewers, for example. Yeah. Or, I mean, just
the casual fan doesn't really start to pay attention until the division races get a little tighter. And now they've expanded the playoffs to the point where the division races don't mean as much, right? Like,
right.
You alter down the stretch, and you still have 2 or 3 wild card spots to fall into. And I think there's just not enough. Well, there's just not as much buzz about the regular season. And I'm not saying that expanded playoffs are bad. I think it's fine. I mean, my team, Braves, in 2021 clearly benefited from the expanded playoffs. Had no business being in the North. Wouldn't have been in without the wild card at all, and won a World Series. So I can't knock it. I mean, it is what it is. It clearly helped my team. I think if you get in and get hot, anybody can win the World Series. Baseball's a sport where that can happen. But I just think sometimes there's not as much buzz around the regular season, so we don't really start to get fired up until vacation season winds down a little bit, because when it starts to get warm, people start to want to go out and do things, right? You're going out with your family, and you may not go to a baseball game because that costs $685 now. To take a family of 4 to a baseball game, and there are other extenuating circumstances why people don't go to games or whatever. And I think nobody wants to go inside. You're not going to sit inside around the TV every night in the summer. Now with all the struggles of trying to watch all these teams, you have to buy this streaming package, it's become very difficult. I mean, I remember as a kid walking, and I played a lot of baseball, so I would come home from a game and I'd turn it on, and it's like you hope the Cubs had a West Coast game if the Braves weren't playing, or maybe the Braves had a West Coast road trip, and I could come home and watch first pitch at 10:05 or whatever in the summer, and I'm watching Braves at Giants at Candlestick Park or whatever on TBS. Everything was so accessible. The Cubs were on WGN, the White Sox were on WGN sometimes, not as much as the Cubs. You had the Braves on TV. You had the stations that were available nationwide. You could watch baseball. It felt like it was always on. It felt like it was like there was always baseball on. And now in the days of streaming, it feels like there's never any baseball to watch. It's hard to. It's just tougher to watch it. I don't understand why you make your product so exclusive to the point where no one can see it.
I mean, even with the social media, they've done that for years. Where you can't post home runs, you can't post this, you can't post that. I mean, just a struggle. But hey, I'll give the Brewers credit. At least they're trying. Yeah. You had one more video, I think. One more video for these Brewers. What they're trying to do on social media.
Yeah, just some fun stuff. I'll be honest with you. Most things I can watch, and this is just a quick video. I'm not going to make you sit through 2 minutes. It's a 5-second video, if it loads. But this was fun. I still haven't figured out how they filmed this. Like, sometimes you can look and they swear it wasn't AI. It doesn't look like AI. It looks like maybe some trick photography, trick videography somehow. And they said no one was in danger, so don't worry. There are no prospects that were harmed in the filming of this video. But I thought this was a fun thing to just kind of garner some attention and create some discussion. This quick 5-second video. That was
crazy.
Yeah, that's the Miz, Jacob Mizrowski, just picking an apple off someone's head.
That wasn't the Miz, WWE wrestler.
Not the Miz, no, not the Miz, but no, the other Miz.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I again, not a real video, not AI, so they won't come off how they did it. But again, I think this is, and I don't know the name of the company that the Brewers brought in, but shout out to them for bringing in someone who can not only help you market, but help you market to the target audience that you're specifically looking to market to. And I thought the video game thing was fun. It made me kind of want to I want to play that game now. Like I want to, like a real life baseball. I thought it was funny at the end. He hung up on his manager. The manager's voice killed me too. I don't know it's not like he was saying freak out every time he talked, but that freaked me out a little bit. That was a little weird. My daughter heard it. She said, "What are you listening to?" I said, "I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea." But I thought it was fun. Like, it was just a fun way to engage, and you could almost do that through the whole season. You can make those old drone videos through the whole season. Obviously not during the game. That might be tougher. But yeah, you could almost have an ongoing saga with the Brewers now. I mean, they could have their own video game season, right? They could make it a whole thing and have a lot of fun with it. We'll see what MLB does to try to do anything. I mean, you would think that they're looking for positive public relations points heading into a work stoppage. Um, I don't know. They're just concerned about rule changes, and now we can challenge balls and strikes, and I don't know, whatever. It's just they're focusing on the wrong things.
Well, we're going to focus on the right things here, Chad, and that is the Milwaukee Brewers and their outstanding social media team and our outstanding network sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Alley Rose Fragrances. AlleyRoseFragrances.com. If you go ahead and get the code InsideEdge20, that's capital I, capital E, 20, all one word, you can get 20% off your entire order. Candles, aromas, the body mist. I mean, just a great smell good. I mean, you got the apple, you got the frosted berry, you got the Christmas tree, the lavender. I mean, you got so many great smells. I mean, and 20% off. I mean, what a great deal, Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. I took advantage of it. Like I said, my wife has the autumn day burning in her office. It's still going strong. Trim the wick a little bit, fire it up every day, and it's still burning. I mean, it's not even close to being done. I've seen her go through candles in 2 or 3 days. Not even an exaggeration. I've seen her sit there and work at her desk and burn through a candle in 2 or 3 days. This one is not even halfway done yet. I should bring it in and show you guys. But it smells amazing. I mean, and it smells through the whole house. It's like, I start to walk upstairs. I'm like, it smells really good up there. And it's autumn day. It's from Alley Rose Fragrances. It smells fantastic. So please, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Go there. Get some candles. Get all the candles. Buy the candles. Buy the body mists. And make sure to use our code InsideEdge20 for 20% off your entire order.
You heard Chad and I, InsideEdge20, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Our friend over there celebrating a year in business. Over a year now. So shout out Alley Rose Fragrances. And shout out all of you. We're coming back with one final segment here on Inside Edge Primetime. When we come back, we're going to talk about Kentucky, Mark Pope, a hot mic, and way back on this Wednesday. We're back here, Chad, Bryan, and I, on Inside Edge Primetime on the Inside Edge Network after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. We are back for one final segment here on Primetime. This Wednesday edition, we are again back with you tomorrow, 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Inside Edge Network. Give us a follow at Inside Edge Net on all the socials if you're loving the conversation Chad and I are having and all the great programming we have all week long. Obviously, Midnight Run to follow us. Midnight Run with Anthony Alford at midnight to 1. Double A having a plethora of things to talk about, and I'll be producing that, so I'll be there with them. You'll see me from time to time. But, yeah, Chad, just some good stuff. And I'll tell you, we have talked a lot about coaches. I think this one, I think Mark Pope knew what he was doing, though. I think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, this was I think an example of planned bad behavior from University of Kentucky basketball head coach Mark Pope. We've had our whole segment. We've had a whole it's a series now. I mean, it's a saga. We've officially reached saga level of college coaches behaving badly at this point. So we're not going to have any loading problems. With no technical difficulties. I feel very confident that when I click this next video, it's going to work. And if it doesn't, if those mother effers try to, I'll just let Mark Pope tell you what he said. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Listen to Mark Pope. This is I would say under his breath, but this was pretty over his breath, honestly. It was loud. I wouldn't even call this a hot mic. I would call this a warm mic. I felt like he knew the mic had been warmed up. This isn't the same as a coach getting caught saying something like this was planned. But check out Mark Pope taking a shot at the referees as he leaves the table for the post-game presser. This is funny to me.
Those mother ever try 5 6 school. They did not say a word about how they cheated us.
I mean,
hey, listen. Did he say a word in the press conference about how they cheated? I don't know. Did he?
He didn't.
Says he didn't.
He didn't.
I believe him.
Yeah, clearly. So, this is, coaches have lost their mind this year. I mean, Mark Pope, John Calipari spoke out about the NIL. That's a whole different conversation, but he's had his opinions about it. Nate Oates has had to defend his NIL decisions with Charles Bediako, and so many different things going on here, Chad.
Speaking of the NIL, it reminds me, Eli, we got to jump in. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the OHSAA and the whole NIL for high school athlete saga that's going back and forth.
Yeah.
We got to break this down at some point. We've got to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's been a mess. At first, there was a player from, he's a Ohio State commit. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Yep.
But out of Dayton, he sued, basically, filed an injunction, sued, got approved for NIL for high school athletes in Ohio, and now the OHSAA and some certain
Jameer Brown.
Yep. And now there are some government entities that are going, nope, hold on, nope, high school athletes can't have NIL. We're going to get this overturned. Don't worry. And there's a little bit of a fight. Listen, I don't have a problem with these guys making their money. I do agree with the point of the OHSAA, and I think, sometimes when you get these filings, it's worded a little strongly in some ways. I think what they're trying to do is just keep this from becoming pay to play. You don't want, people already accuse the private schools of doing certain things, recruiting, whatever, going out and finding players. You don't want this to be a situation where now the donors are just giving back and we're giving guys $150,000 a year to come to a high school and play basketball or football for a season. And I agree with that. I don't think you want that. But if a guy is popular enough, and I don't mean, I just mean within the sport, basketball, football, baseball, whatever, volleyball, it could be obviously girl sports too. It's not limited. But if someone's popular enough and they've made enough of a name for themselves, listen, if they want to catch some local endorsements while they're a high school athlete, I have zero problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to be giving 16-year-olds Lamborghinis or anything, but maybe we don't give cars away, but I don't know. I'm sure there's ways that all these towns have sporting goods stores. I'm sure we could get an NIL deal from the local sporting goods store where, the athlete gets free gear during season or whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy. This doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, right? This can just be like, hey, I go to the grocery store, or not the grocery store. I go to the sporting goods store and I have $100 stipend a month. I can get some shoes every month, right? Doesn't have to be a huge deal, man. It's just, I think that high school athletes can do a lot for their communities. When you have a very good athlete, and I can think of so many examples. I'm not going to name any specific ones right now, but when you have a very good athlete in your community, it does a lot for the community, for the athletic program. It helps everyone out, and there's no reason that these kids shouldn't be able to make a little bit of money off their name, image, and likeness. I mean, that's why this whole thing started. I mean, you are your own entity, you're your own brand, and it's unfair, I think, for someone to tell you that you can't make money as long as you're doing it legally. I just don't, I don't see why anyone could limit your money making ability, right? So we got to talk about this one day. We got to get a little further into it, get all the facts, and kind of break it down and look at it from both sides. And it's a mess. It's a huge mess right now. But sorry, you said NIL, and that popped into my head. So that's where we are.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Hey, no, you're all good. You're all good. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely have a deeper conversation on that. I mean, let's take that conversation. Let's shelve it.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back for maybe next week or sometime next week.
For sure.
Awesome. All right, let's get to Way Back Wednesday, Chad. We got a few things, things that happened on this date. Not necessarily on a Wednesday per se, but on this Wednesday, back in time. Go ahead and take the people back to the Wayback Machine.
Let's do it. February 25th in 1940. This is actually one of my favorite ones. This is pretty cool. We're going to take a look here. The first televised? No, not televised. Televised NHL game in history. The Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers. A little station called W2XBS. It was an experimental TV station owned by NBC back in the day. They would have the equipment to bring this particular game to about 300 households in New York. Broadcast was super primitive, very raw. There's one camera, no instant replay, no zooms, no nothing, no close-ups, just a single camera above the ice that would, that could sort of you just sort of panned it back and forth. Apparently, it struggled with motion. It struggled with light. There were shadows of the entire shadows where we couldn't even see the ice at all. So it wasn't great, Eli, but people loved it. They wanted more. And now it's kind of evolved into what we see today, where it's like, sports broadcasts have become, I'm there a staple. You have people over to specifically watch. And it's become, it's the broadcast has become the spectacle more than the game. And, it's like you have 5 or 6 guys on the pregame, and you have, a sideline reporter, and you have, all kinds of crazy stuff going on now. And it all came basically from this 1940 NHL game between the Rangers and the Canadiens. And by the way, the Rangers would go on to win that game 6-2 over the Canadiens that night. So won the home game and won the first ever televised game. So the local crowd, 300 households got to watch the Rangers win 6-2. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. Okay.
Yeah. And also on this date, February 25th, 1961, a couple years later, about 20 years later. This is a cool one too, man. St. Bonaventure, the Bonnies, they lost to Niagara at 87-77, but that wasn't the story. That ended St. Bonaventure's incredible 99-game home winning streak. The streak began in 1948. Eli, it started so long ago, I was having trouble I couldn't even verify who it was that they beat in that first game in 1948 that started the streak that went until 1961. Can you imagine having a team not lose a home game from 1948 to 1961? And if you look at the picture, by the way, they played a good deal of these games in the Olean Armory. An armory. I think that's crazy. I was telling you before the show, I played youth basketball. I had practices in an armory. And I was like, man, this is small. Like, how do you play? And there's a Division I college team playing in an armory gym. Just a completely different time. You see like a lot of the crowd, a lot of people have suits and ties on. It's just the way it was, right?
Yeah. It was real cool.
Is up there in the corner. I'm not really sure. I can't verify that, but
it was real cool, and now you think about a St. Bonaventure, a March Madness darling, a Cinderella most times, but 99 game home game winning streak, just crazy, Chad, crazy.
And that's actually not the longest home game winning streak in college basketball history, because this got me thinking when I stumbled onto this. I thought, man, I mean, that's got to be pretty close to the record. I didn't think about Kentucky from back in the day, but Kentucky actually owns that record. From 1943 to 1955, Kentucky won 129 straight home games, or games on their home court, I guess. I don't know if there could have been a neutral site game where they were considered the home team that they lost, but they won 129 straight games on their home court. There you see St. Bonaventure second with 99, UCLA, and a lot of these are a long time ago. You see Gonzaga, though, recently, 76 straight home games from 2018 to 2023. Most of these are in the not what we call the super modern era. I mean, you got a couple in the 80s there, and whatever. They're mostly during the I guess the golden years of college basketball, but pretty impressive. I mean, it's the teams you would expect: Kentucky, UCLA, Arizona, right? Like, Marquette was like a little bit of a basketball power for a while.
Don't forget about the powerhouse Lamar.
Don't forget about Lamar. Do not forget about Lamar, because if you forget about Lamar, then you'll be forgetting about the team that's close to the bottom there on the longest home court winning streak.
And you'd be forgetting about Louisiana Tech in 1984 beating them.
Yeah, you would probably, if you remember that game, you don't want to forget about that, because that's a good memory. No, I thought that was a pretty cool list. That just Kentucky, man. I mean, I'm going to put that back up. That's wild. 129 straight games at home from 1943 to 1955. Just unbelievable. I mean, I know times are different, obviously, back then, and it was probably a little bit easier but I mean, was it easier to build a power? I mean, I guess there's no internet. You don't think guys don't get out there, and if Kentucky is the word locally, that's where everybody floods, and that's everybody goes and plays basketball for Adolph or up, and I guess that's how they do that. But I thought that was a pretty cool list, and I thought those were a couple of pretty cool stories. I couldn't really find anything else of note. Do you know what was funny?
What's that?
I have a website. I have a website that I look at, and it's on thisday.com. Do you remember the first time we did Way Back Wednesday, Eli? And we had a fella. Oh, what was his name? Let's look it up, because we want to have all the facts here. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. Why wouldn't we? Do you remember we had a fella named Nathaniel Niles?
Yes.
Well, apparently on this date as well, and I don't know, 1925. Every day in 1925, this guy either won some kind of figure skating championship or some tennis match. He's at the top of this list too. That says on this day in 1925, U.S. Men's Figure Skating Championship won by Nathaniel Niles. I don't know if this was like a month-long thing that was happening back in 1925, but Nathaniel Niles apparently won this championship every single day in the month of February, from what I can understand.
The month of February runs through Nathaniel Niles.
That's it. You want to win something in February? It's a short month. Nathaniel Niles has got you covered for about 28 days, maybe 29 every 4. We don't know. But Nathaniel Niles has got you covered in February. He said, "Listen, it's a short month. I can do that. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to win February." So he won in figure skating and tennis, apparently.
Hey, that's your Way Back Wednesday for this Wednesday. We'll be back with more Wednesday, turning the clock back next week. Okay, and we're back here with you tomorrow. But before we do that, we have some final thoughts here. Chad, would you like to give some final thoughts to the people here on this Primetime Wednesday edition?
Listen, final thoughts. I think if you got to be smart about this, right? We always talk about selective scheduling now with Division 1. You've got Alabama probably they're gonna drop out of the home and home with Ohio State. Steve Sarkisian is already making excuses. Our guys have to go to class. Whatever. Shut up. Ohio State players go to class. There's a good deal of them do online classes. That's okay. They've also, by the way, they're the team with the most progress toward a degree. Pretty much, I think the last 2 or 3 years in a row now, they've been at the top or the top team. So they're whatever you say, they're graduating, they're moving toward their degrees. It works, right? I say that to say this: selective scheduling, you guys. If you are going to enter, okay, in the month of February, a tennis tournament or a figure skating championship, make sure you look at the list, look at the roster, make sure you do not see Nathaniel Niles on there, because if you do, forget about it. Nathaniel Niles is winning that thing. That's my final thought for the night. That's it.
Dude, watch out for Nathaniel Niles.
He's older, but he's got the experience, man. It's gonna be fine.
Watch out for Nathaniel Niles. I'll tell you.
He'd be well over 100 years old, by the way. Now
you gotta watch. You gotta watch.
He doesn't fall.
I'll just tell you, go watch some good basketball, man. Basketball's in full swing. Go watch some basketball. March Madness coming up here. NBA, we've been talking about the Cavs. Obviously, the NBA just in full swing. Getting ready for the postseason here real soon. So we're going to cover that here on Prime Time and all throughout the network. But, just enjoy some good hoops. Just continue to remind everybody, if you're in the Cleveland area, Brothers Lounge, my album release show for Golden Child, this Friday. Doors at 7, show at 8. I'll be on around 9:15, 9:30. But Mushu, Cliche, Gio, my Lehele bros are performing earlier on in the night. So make sure you get out there and rock on out. Chad, it's been another good edition. We're going to sign off here for now. Yes. We're going to tell everybody that we will be back here with you tomorrow, 10 o'clock till 11. No midnight run tomorrow, so get your fix tonight. Midnight run with Anthony Alford from midnight to 1. And then we're back here tomorrow 10 to 11. Chad?
Let me say this real quick. Even if Midnight Run wasn't a super entertaining, I've been watching it the last couple of nights. I've been super entertained watching Double A go. But here's the thing. Even if it wasn't entertaining at all, if he was just boring the whole show and he never said anything of note or of value, you're going to want to watch this show because at some point he's going to get evicted live on air. His neighbors are going to go, listen, this guy's too loud. Something's going to happen. The police are going to show up. Midnight Run is going to become an actual midnight run. So I'm really looking forward to that episode. No, I'm kidding. No, it's a great. I loved it. I love the feel of it. It's just it's a cool late night show. I don't know. It's just it's fun to watch Double A go sometimes. So yeah, definitely check out Midnight Run.
I love it. For Chad, Bryan, I'm Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime. Give us a follow, Inside Edge Net, on all the socials. Shout out Ellie Rose Fragrances, Inside Edge 20 for 20% off all your entire order. And Midnight Run with Anthony Alford coming up at the top of the hour. See you soon.